I think people just don't know. Like, if I had to guess, right? You had said something like they're not thinking to be selfless, right? Which I think is super important. I don't know if the people that aren't taking it seriously are not being selfless. I think they just don't know. And here I could be wrong, but I would like to assume that it's ignorance, right? Because I don't think that people intentionally will do something. They're doing it because they don't think it will happen. That's what it is. I think people are going out and doing stuff because they think it's silly. They think that there's no chance. So I think education is the biggest thing. I think people need to understand. This is me, and I'm guilty of this. When I first saw it, I still kind of feel this a little bit. It's a little bit blown out of proportion.
Yeah,
I think my first thought is just don't hang out with old people, right? And I'm being honest. This is my first thought, and I'll explain this more in a second. Just don't hang out with old people. If me and you go out and do stuff and we don't hang out with old people, we'll be fine, right? Which makes sense. When I say that, even to myself right now, I go, word, brother. Like, like part of me is like, yeah, like, let's just go out. But then I really, really think about it. Me and you have talked about this. This is how I feel about it. I feel that it is blown out of proportion, but it also is serious. Because here's what could happen. I could go hang out. A lot of people are asymptomatic, right? And I'm never going to get tested unless I have some symptoms. They're telling you that, right?
Right.
So let's say me and you go out, which this isn't an option anymore. But let's say when it was, me and you go out to a bar.
We go to a house party right now. If
we go to a house party, bonfire. There are people doing things, right?
Right.
Let's say we will go out and someone gives it to me. They don't even know they have it. They give it to me. I don't know I have it, so I don't know either. Then I go to another party and I give it to guy number 3, right? And he doesn't have any symptoms, and he gives it to guy number 4. Guy number 4 goes home to grandma, gives it to grandma. Even though my version of it sounds right, just don't hang out with old people. In this scenario, I never hung out with one old person, but I hung out with someone who hung out with someone who hung out with someone who's really close to his grandma, and now grandma gets it, right? And that's an option. And so when I think about it like that, it is important to not just think, and I say this because people that are listening that are probably thinking like, hey, like, I don't hang out with old people, and even if I get it, I'll be fine. You could affect someone who could affect someone who could affect someone who could affect grandma. And maybe grandma gets it anyways, right? Maybe that happens regardless of you. The whole point of these measures that they put out is to slow down the spread. I mean, you talked about this. It's not to stop it. There is no cure right now. They're working on it. So they're not saying, hey, don't do this and we'll cure it. No, it's to slow down. The whole point is we don't want to overload the hospitals at the same time.
Yeah.
Think of it as scale. Like, if we get it slowly, but the same peak, right? Same exact peak. If we get it slowly over time, hospitals can deal with that. But if we all just go buck wild, everyone's in the hospital at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming. And then people that have other sicknesses that have nothing to do with corona are missing out on treatment, right?
Right.
Because they need all this stuff. So there is an impact. That's my version of it. It does seem silly. A lot of it is silly. When this is all over, I think we'll all look back at it and realize we didn't need to do all this crazy stuff. We just needed to stay home. You know what I mean? Or just not go out so much, or take it seriously, or be kind, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we'll also know that for the people that did take it seriously and made an impact on the healthcare system to slow things down, we'll all be grateful for those people.
Yeah, definitely. And I do agree with you. I think there's some people that maybe just don't understand and don't have like the education to know where it's at and where it could be, or don't really want to listen to what's happened in Italy and where they're at in their situation.
They're pretty bad.
Yeah, I think that part, that's one part of it, one component of it, and the other part is I do feel that there could be certain people that don't see it that way and kind of don't have like a selfless mentality of like, hey, this is helping the bigger group of people, let me not do this.
Yeah.
And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just doesn't seem
that big of a deal. I think that the people that are doing it don't know. Maybe they will now that I've explained it in a way where they can understand, like, oh crap, I think they don't know. It's not like they know info like this and they go, fuck them, like I'm gonna do it anyways. I don't think that's the case. I'd like to hope it's not.
Yeah.
I think that they're just not thinking long term.
Yeah.
They're thinking this is a little wild.
I think that's the majority
of
people. I think there might be some, like, I've seen it on Facebook, kind of thing, like where people are just kind of like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And like,
some people are still calling it a hoax. Like they're like, it's not real.
What's that saying? live fast, die young, or you know what I
I
mean?
remember people posting that.
Yeah. And so it's just like that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, like, yeah. So that's what I'm kind of talking about is like, yeah, okay, that's okay for you. That's the same kind of thing I'm bringing up with like, you know, the conversation we had about like smoking, right?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wants to, even in the situation where you said like smoke crack, if people want to smoke crack and they, you know, like it's, you know, it's researched that their life expectancy isn't going to be that long and they're okay doing that because they just love their life on crack and they want to like, you know, maybe pass away at an early age because that could happen, then that's their choice, right? But in this situation, it affects a lot of people. So not caring about your life expectancy or what could happen to your health affects other people's health. But I do agree with you. The majority of people aren't aware of like the 14-day
I think
window and all of that. And so I think that's what causes.
It affects everyone when you do choices. People need to understand that. And when you're mentioning the crack thing, emotionally, that could affect a lot of people.
Yeah,
but I
it
think
does.
you're right. Physically, me smoking crack isn't going to make you have crack effects, right?
Right.
But emotionally, you do affect your family and friends.
Of
But I
course.
think we can all get over that. When you physically affect someone's well-being to the point where they could pass away or be severely sick, that's a different story. Because the emotionals, we're resilient. We're human beings, and we do this all the time, right? But our bodies, especially at an older age, they're not that resilient. And you're essentially making a choice for someone who can't make it. And when you zoom out, we're just a little dot, right? We're a planet.
Yeah.
And it's easy to be like, well, whatever. I didn't know people die. People get sick, right? It's super easy to say. But when you zoom in and you start seeing a whole body of work of a person, I think you start appreciating them better.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people need to do is just understand that, like, you don't want to be the person when it's all over and you figured out that you played a part in affecting that person. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be the regretful person. And you don't want to be the person that says, if I could go back, I would have done blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You want to just take precautions because it's not worth it. This will all be over. This will all be over. You know what I mean? That's my point. Yeah. Here's a few things that I'll say about it. And here's the Italy thing. I'm glad that you brought that up because for the people that are taking it seriously, here's another thing. Don't freak out. Like, don't get anxiety. Yeah. Don't do wild stuff. Don't hoard stuff. Stop freaking buying toilet paper, all the hand sanitizer stuff. Like, understand that we all need that stuff too. Here's how, what it is affecting people, right? Because me and you were not hoarding. Mm-hmm. I went to the store and I'm like, damn, they're out of this. Someone hoarded all the stuff, right? Yeah. I went to the store, they're out of X, Y, and Z. So because people hoarded X, Y, and Z, because 1, 2, 3, whoever did it came in and took all this stuff, I'm now going, well, now I need to find toilet paper, right? Yeah. So then I'm getting clever on how to find toilet paper, not because I think I need it to get past the corona, but because everyone else thinks they need it, bought it all up, and now there's a shortage for the people that wouldn't have done that, but now need to also do that to fit in to be able to get resources, right?
Right.
And I'm assuming that happened with everyone else too, because I know tons of people that went to the store like, it's gone. Now everyone's hoarding everything because it just seems like the thing to do, and we're all matching. And now we're fighting each other with resources. We're not hoarding because we think we need it to live. We're hoarding it because we don't want other people to hoard it before we get to hoard it. Mm-hmm. And it just comes this weird thing, right? Yeah. The Italy thing, people need to realize, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this either. The biggest things that I learned from today, which Italy is being hit percentage-wise way worse than China. Obviously, the death toll is bigger in China because they have a higher population. Right. But Italy's getting hit bad, like really bad. Yeah. People need to understand it affects people with underlying conditions. And it also affects elderly people a lot more because their immune systems are compromised. Mm-hmm. Italy has the highest elderly population in the whole world. And so that's what they're known for, right? That's a reason why it's affecting them. Not that that's the only reason, but that makes sense. So if people are wondering why is it so bad in Italy, they reacted late. They have an older population, and obesity is a big one, right? We're an obese country, but Italy, the home of pasta. They eat a lot of carbs and starchy stuff, and so they have a weight issue over there. Culturally, it's different, where it's actually encouraged over there. Like someone who's overweight, like a mom with an overweight son, it's a good thing. Like I fed him. It's like and it's a cultural thing.
Like a pride thing almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like if you had a kid that was skinny, it would or skinnier, like the other families would be like, you must not have fed your kid. And so it's a pride
cultural thing.
Yes. Yeah. So they do have that over there, which people don't understand when they say things like the coronavirus is affecting people with underlying conditions. Obesity is one of those things.
Right.
And so Italy's also getting hit with that because they have an obesity and they have the highest population of elderly people. So it hit them harder. So people that are taking it seriously, don't freak out when you see that. Don't freak out when you see the China ones. Don't freak out when you see the ones here. And this is my advice on this. I've told you about this. And I'm stealing this, so I want to give credit to him. I showed you that Lupe Fiasco video.
Yeah.
And I think this is the most excellent way of looking at it. And anyone who's listening to this podcast, go to YouTube and look up Lupe Fiasco coronavirus. He's done 4 videos. One of them I'm talking about. The other ones are also great. But he makes a really good point. And he says this, and I'm paraphrasing. He pretty much says, the coronavirus is what you make of it. Mm-hmm. The coronavirus makes you sick. That's all it does. It doesn't make you hoard things. It doesn't make you racist. It doesn't make you rude. It doesn't make you act crazy. You're doing that. You're human beings, right?
We have control of that.
You're the one doing that. All it does is make you sick. Your reactions and all the way you overblow things, the protective things, the wild stuff, the freaking out that you're doing all that. So it is what you make of it. Understand that it is important and we need to take it seriously, but you can do that while not panicking. You can do that while not taking resources from other people. And when possible, you can be helpful. And so people are probably asking themselves, how do I be helpful in a situation where they're asking me not to help people? I can't leave my house. Yeah. Here's how you can be helpful. Do things to counteract it. Do the measures where they ask you, clean your house. Earlier, you talked about this, Laura. We've had a lot of fun since coronavirus, by the way. A lot of fun. Because we make the best of it here. Laura has cleaned one thing every single day. She's tried to rearrange stuff. She rearranged the front porch. You did. And now you sit there, you spend time there either on the phone, reading a book, or just hanging out. We've made up cool things, you know what I mean, that we could just do. We have an event that we're planning tomorrow just between me and you. This is what you can do to make this moment better, right? Is hang out, get to know the people you're with. If you want to be literal, work out, stay active, do things. If you have an underlying condition, work on that thing. If you're not in shape, work on being in shape. If you have a bad diet, try to eat a little better. Do some things to boost your immune system. Yeah. That's what you can do to help. Yeah. And I know I feel like I just went on a coronavirus rant.
No, I think it's all good information, and everything that you're saying I think is right on.
What could someone do during this time? And it doesn't have to be like deep or because you're creative. You're probably the most creative person I've ever met, by the way, which is a good thing. You have a way of making things fun. You have a way of coming up with cool ideas, whether it's with me or by yourself. You can make the most of your time. Sometimes it's not like if you had time, you're not going to be bored. You're either sometimes it's not the healthiest thing, like on your phone, right? Yeah. Or watching a show, which is me too. We've binge watched entire shows in one day. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. But then we're still making up that time. Other times it's great things like the cleaning, it's research, it's active, you're running, you're going to yoga, you're doing things here, obviously during the corona here, but even before that, going out. So you make the most of your time. School, you do work, you do all these things. You deal with my ass. Yeah.
So that's about 75% of my time right there.
So during the corona, you're limited on leaving your house, right? Which people are still doing. And we've done, I think, twice. We haven't left a lot. Groceries. That's pretty much all we leave for.
Yeah. That's everything we've left for. The last almost 2 weeks.
What do you think someone could do? And I hope you were thinking about this because you knew the question was coming.
Yeah.
So hopefully you have something to say. What could someone do that's hanging out at home? Maybe if they have kids, maybe they don't, whatever. What can someone do to like be productive or stay busy at home? What are some fun ideas?
I was actually thinking about that today, the whole bored thing that you had mentioned about me, where you're like, I'm never bored.
Yeah.
And I actually thought about that today because I was seeing how people were posting like, I'm bored. And I'm like, I don't know, like if I've ever really felt bored. Like I was actually thinking that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of things that I do since I can't remember the last time that I've actually felt bored.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I think it's always kind of looking within, and I know I've mentioned that before. And when I say that, it's like asking yourself, like, what do you need? Like, what do you need to do? Like, do you feel like you need to be active? Do you feel that you need to be creative? Do you feel like you need to make something? Do you feel like you need a connection with somebody? Do you feel that you need to declutter a space because that feels good? Do you feel like petting your dog? Do you feel like, just kind of asking yourself like what you need, and you kind of always know what you need. So sometimes what you need could be like, hey, what I need is just to sit on the couch and play on my phone.
Yeah.
And I think maybe and I don't know, because I was actually like thinking about that today. Like, I don't remember the last time I was bored. So I don't know if the bored feeling comes from the fact that I always keep myself so busy, or the fact that like I'm always in tune with myself, so I never feel bored with what I need to do for myself, if that makes sense.
I have a theory that the people that are bored are probably the same people that were already bored before the corona. But because it is being creative. And I like what you said, like identifying what's my need, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just doing something, know what your needs are. Maybe let's use a realistic one, healthy or not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my need is to go out and party and be
Right.
social. And if I'm a girl, meet dudes. And if I'm a dude, meet girls or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I'm that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give me advice. I'm Will.
So if you want to party, let's just say in that situation, I think that you could do two things. Like, if you have a roommate, you guys could play beer pong with each other and like have a good time, or
blast some music,
play some drinking games. And if that other part of you also is wanting some type of like male or female attention, then, you know, FaceTiming somebody that you're talking to, or texting that person, or playing a game with them like over the phone, like a question game, or just doing something that will make you feel connected, whatever. If you're single and you're wanting, if your need is just companionship or attention, or if it's like sexual maybe, like, then just meeting that need, whatever it is, like over the phone, like what you can't do now.
Did you just tell me to have phone sex with a stranger?
No, I'm just saying.
Is this real right now?
I'm not saying you. I'm saying
that. Yeah. No. I didn't want to do that anyways. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that clip, click on this link right over here to subscribe to this clip's channel. Or if you want to view the entire conversation, go ahead and click on this link over here to view the entire podcast. Bet you on the next one, guys.